Well, over the course of the last 251 days, 12 USL League One clubs competed home and away. That those 12 clubs got whittled down to 8 for the playoffs, then 4, and now we find ourselves with the last 2 remaining. Tonight we break down the various storylines, the tactics, and the stats related to Sunday's final. Welcome to another episode of League One on the Rocks. My name is Rich. You can find me on Twitter at I'm Rich But I'm Not. That is the man with the fresh new haircut and the man who predicted the Spokane upset. Brian, you can find him on Twitter at Mediocre Ace. Brian, how are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm super excited for the final, and not just because my team's playing in it, but the fact that these two teams match up really well against each other, and I think this is going to be I think it's definitely going to be one of the more competitive finals that we've seen. So, um, yeah, I'm just super excited and excited to talk about it.
I agree. Less than 36 hours from now, we're going to be looking at that kickoff on Sunday afternoon. So we're here to break it all down for you. So I saw you just take a gulp of something. We got to
Just
continue that tradition. What are you
just
drinking tonight?
just water tonight. Got the kids are over at the house tonight, so um, didn't want to break anything out for this. So just gonna stick with water. Plus, I have a feeling if things go a certain way, all my drinking for the next like 3 or 4 months is gonna be done on Sunday night. So
True, man. Yeah, very true. Well, I arrived in Omaha just yesterday around midday, and I was greeted to a fresh new bottle of Four Roses. So that's what I'm
very
going
nice.
into. Get that. Oh, I love that sound. So I'm going to pour a big helping of this tonight. Um, I'm excited to talk about this stuff, man. But before we get into any of the recaps, we actually had some league news um, over the past few days because now that we're at the end of the season, we start having a lot of these award announcements.
Mhm.
And on Tuesday, it all started out with goalkeeper of the year, which predictably went to One Knox's Sean Lewis, much deserved as well.
Yeah, no surprise there at all. Obviously, Sean's had an incredible year and has continued to have uh, an incredible year from last year as well. So not really too surprised in this one. I think that was probably the one that everybody knew going into it was going to be Sean Lewis.
Yeah. And I feel like the next award that was handed out on Wednesday was equally deserved and equally as predictable, with Defender of the Year going to Northern Colorado's Bruno Rendon.
Yeah, another one. I mean, just another tough one to argue with. I mean, the dude is also well deserving of the title, and congrats to him for that.
Yeah. And then just earlier today, it was announced that yesterday, the Young Player of the Year went to Central Valley's Alfredo Medense. Not only did he win Young Player of the Year, he also won Golden Playmaker.
Yeah, I feel like if a guy makes your list for the postseason awards and he happens to be in the criteria for Young Player of the Year, I think that dude should probably get it. And this year, yeah, they made the right choice with this one. I think me and you talked about it a few weeks before the end of the regular season, how he was kind of really coming on and how much he meant to that Central Valley Fuego team this season. So hats off to him. That's a good one to get as well.
Yeah, totally agree. And fresh off of a team talk just last night here in Omaha, it was just announced Coach of the Year went to Union Omaha's Dominic Casciato.
Yep. I mean, this one there's a few different candidates that you probably could have argued also deserve this award. I think it I think it could have went any of those ways and I wouldn't have argued. Um I'm not arguing with this one either. With Omaha's kind of regular season dominance this season, I think they never dropped below fourth, and that was only for a week. So, um, yeah, never never dropped below fourth on the season. Finished with the most goals in a season. I mean, or is it yeah, most goals I believe in a regular season. That it's tough to argue that. So, congrats to him as well.
Yeah. I know it was good to see him last night and hear him answer some questions from not only front office members who happened to be at the event, but also some of the fans who were in attendance as well. There were some good questions and there were some good answers along the way too. So it was fun. So we had a lot of these awards that are being handed out. There's only one that remains, and that will be announced tomorrow, and that is the Player of the Year. So keep your eyes out for League One social media because they'll be announcing that one tomorrow. It should be very interesting to see who they choose.
Hmm.
But even outside of the awards, we also had some news come out of Portland Hearts of Pine because they named a familiar face to their head coach, not only as their head coach, but also their sporting director, head coach Bobby Murphy.
Yeah, I mean this. I don't think this one shocks anybody that has followed the league for a while, knowing just the work that he did here in Omaha during the championship season in 21. Um, and then moving on to be head coach at St. Louis City 2 for MLS Next Pro. You know, I mean, it's definitely a well deserved honor for him, and I think it's a role that he can excel in. He kind of here in Omaha, I mean, that staff was super talented, and he was just one piece of it. But um, you know, moving up from where he has been to where he is now, I think the trajectory's been solid this whole time.
Totally agree. Totally deserves the position. Great guy. He did a team talk with some of the Union Omaha fans a couple years ago,
Mhm.
and I wasn't able to make it, but from everybody who did make it, they made it sound as if it was the best team talk they'd been to because of how personable he was, the way that he engaged the fans and really drove the conversation and didn't make it seem as if it was a one-sided conversation. It was much more like a just go into a bar to hang out with someone from the Union Omaha technical staff. It was really cool to hear some of the stories that came out of that evening.
Yeah, and I mean, I have a personal anecdote with him too that I since we're talking about him, I'll share. My son and I went to the skills challenge I believe they had 2 years ago, um, and we're just kind of hanging out up in our usual season ticket holder seats, and um, some of the people that were just kind of walking around, Bobby was one of them, said, "Hey, what are you guys up to?" Just we're just gonna watch it. He said, "Well, why don't you come down on the field and watch it?" So he brought us down onto the field. We were just kind of hanging out, eating, and then he Bobby walked over and asked my son Zane if he wanted to go play on the field with the players. So he got to go out there and hang out with the players. Bobby introduced him to every player he wanted to see and got him on a team for the skills challenge. So that just goes to show kind of the class and character that he has. So um, I think the Hearts of Pine really got a top notch guy in as sporting director and head coach.
Yeah, and Zane looked like he was having so much fun down there too.
Yeah, just still talks about it to this day too.
We already have Zach joining us into the live chat. He first jumps in and says, "Did anyone ask the Oasis question?" Yes, Zach, they did ask the Oasis question, and he was really excited to hear about the reunion tour, and he's hoping that he can go to the show in Chicago. I think is where they're going to be at. So, yeah, he was excited to learn about the reunion tour. He also asked, "Are you in town, Rich?" Yes, Zach, I am in town. Um, I have been in town since yesterday midday, and I will be in town until next Thursday. So I'm looking forward to hanging out with everybody, having some good drinks, some good food, some good times, just taking it all in. Obviously, I'm going to go to the match on Sunday too.
Of
If I can
course.
be in the same city as the final and not go. But Zach, thank you for joining in. It's good to see your name in the live chat too. Hope to see you on Sunday. All right. right. So when we get into some of the semifinals discussions, both of these matches were on Saturday. The first match kicked off at 5 p.m., and that was Union Omaha hosting, Greenville. Omaha took the 2-1 victory, but it was a bit of a nervous start for the home fans.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean it got started early. In the 8th minute, Evan Lee scores and was assisted by Omaha, Omaha or Lincoln, one of the two, Nebraska native Tyler Pollock.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and I mean that one stung, because I know quite a few fans in the stands were giving Tyler some hell about playing for Greenville and being from Nebraska. So, um, but I mean, you also look at it, was completely well deserved. I mean, just a really well worked counterattack by Greenville on that, and just Omaha just couldn't keep up with them. And just kind of lost track of guys, and the defense was a little bit shaky there. So, but that's what we talked about. I mean, we talked about this Greenville team being able to play that stout defense and hit you with the counter, and it wasn't a surprise to see it happen. That's for sure.
Yeah. And Omaha came out in on paper in a 3-4-3, but when they started to play, it seemed like it was much more of like a 5-4-1. It was very much of a defensive posture.
Hmm.
Uh, but at the same time, it was a very congested formation because they recognized the strength in Greenville's spine going straight up that middle lane of the pitch, and when you condense the formation inwards, throw a lot of bodies into that central lane, and um, throw the quality of players that Omaha has at the midfield that is loaded in the quality midfielders that Greenville has. There's there's those chances to turn the ball over and gain possession, go the other way. Um, there were some adjustments that were made soon after that goal. I feel like in the first 10 to 12 minutes, it was all Greenville.
Hmm.
But
I
then
agree.
soon after that, you could feel the tides turning and going more in favor of Union Omaha.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. It looked like early on Omaha was content with just out defensing Greenville, and I think they were going to lean. Had the match played out 0-0 until later in it, I feel like Omaha would have tried to lean on their depth a little bit and be able to bring in some guys later on that had fresh legs that can really hurt you. Um, but I mean, you give up a goal in the first 10 minutes. Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth, and that's exactly what Greenville did, and that's what they needed to do, quite frankly, against this Omaha team. And I think it was the right way to go to come out and be aggressive early, like Greenville was. Um, you obviously have Omaha with the emotional standpoint of everything, with Jerome and everything like that, and um, really just wanting to make a statement early. I think they did that, but as you said, Rich, I mean the adjustment from Union Omaha, shortly after that goal really swung things in their favor, and you could kind of see that they were able to move the ball the way they wanted to and get the offense forward. And sitting in the stadium, even when Omaha went down a goal, I mean, it looked bad at first, but as soon as that formation changed, there was kind of a thing that came over the crowd. Nobody seemed really nervous. Nobody seemed really stressed out by the fact that Greenville was up a goal. I think that really plays to Omaha's strengths of being able to overcome that and moving forward even when they're down. So I think it was a great fight back from Omaha in this one, and something that you may see a little bit in this final as well. But it is one of those things you have to be ready for Greenville to be able to do these things, because we knew going into it, this is one of the premier clubs in USL League One. They've been here forever. Coach has been here forever. and they really looked like a team that knew exactly what they wanted to do and executed it in those first 10 minutes for sure.
Yeah, when Pascal Corbino had the ball cut in centrally and drew a lot of attention. When you watch that replay, he was drawing so many bodies in on him right as he was approaching the 18-yard box. All the eyes were looking to him, allowing Tyler Pollock to make that run on the outside. Then they get the ball over to Tyler, and then Evan Lee runs off the shoulder, like out of sight, out of mind.
Hmm.
So it was just a combination of very, very intelligent play from Greenville. So full credit to them on that stuff.
Yeah, very well
Um,
coached.
the 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 big adjustment that I saw after those first 10, 12 minutes, and I should start off by saying this: when Greenville took the pitch, I wasn't even sure if Chapa Herrera was going to be playing.
Hmm.
Uh, because I he broke his arm, his wrist in that match against One Knox.
I
I think he
believe
came
so.
off at the 80th minute or something like that.
I believe so.
Uh,
Yeah.
but he did have that cast on his arm, so it's a functional cast. He's able to play. Um,
It was a big one too.
it was a big one.
That
Yeah,
that cast was huge.
yeah,
Uh, a lot of people were talking about him if he was allowed to have a club on the on the pitch. That thing was that's like the old school. You ever see like the old 80s and 90s like NFL videos where the guys got like broken wrists and they have just their entire hand taped up and it's just a huge ball of tape and cast. That's about the feeling I got out of that one.
yep, yep. And just like have like a tiny piece of rebar like right here, so you
Right?
can
Yeah.
stick your arm on
Yep.
it. But the big adjustment for me, when you saw Herrera not only on the pitch, which is obviously going to turn heads, but then the way that he commands the middle of the pitch,
Hmm.
you're obviously going to have somebody on one, go wherever he goes, be that sort of like American football like spy to watch him wherever he goes. And that responsibility fell on Pedro de la Bella. And the way that Pedro followed Chapa around the pitch he had this sort of like give and take with him where he gave him a little bit of space if he felt there was going to be a chance for a turnover. But then if he saw there was a very intelligent play from Pedro where if he saw there was momentum swinging toward Greenville, that he would suck in and start marking up on him right away. Um, but the more that Pedro uh, attached himself to Chapa, like it just suffocated Greenville's offense, and it was really cool to see that transition and the wave of momentum switch toward Omaha in that instant.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it took Omaha a while to kind of get back into the fight. At least on the score sheet anyway. In the 52nd minute, or geez, 42nd minute, Omaha, Aaron Gomez scores, assisted by Lagos Kunga. I guess technically assisted by Lagos Kunga, but this was just a great individual shot from Aaron Gomez to get in there and put a little bit of loft underneath the ball and just tuck it right inside that front post, or excuse me, that far post to send it to the back of the net and tie this game up.
Yeah, great play. And that was the moment, like that was the culmination of the momentum switch. But it
Hmm.
was also that key switch for them to like, hey, okay, cool. Now we're level and we can keep on going. We can win this match.
Yeah. And I will say too, I think momentum swung in Omaha's favor quite a bit earlier than this. I don't know if I would say maybe the 20th minute or so is when it really, really felt like it twisted to Omaha's side. They got a lot of shots in on goal, and a lot of shots just in general. But full credit to Greenville's defense as well. There was a lot of open guys in the box that were not able to get a shot off or able to take a shot but have it not be on target because Greenville, as soon as Omaha touched the ball inside the box, collapsed right on top of it. So, um, something we kind of knew going into it, Greenville was going to be able to do. Something they've done all season long, but it it really is a lot more difficult when you're playing a team with the firepower that Omaha has to be able to do that so successfully. And I think Greenville really really played well on defense despite giving up 2 goals. Um, I think that whole entire defensive line, those back guys should really take some pride in the job that they did.
Yeah, totally agree. Um, I can't remember exactly what the XG was there in the first half, but it seemed like it was a lot more even in the
Hmm.
first half than it was in the second half. In the second half is when you really saw things start to separate. And as you just spoke about there with the goal coming in, and then Union Omaha getting the winning goal too. It seemed in the second half that Union Omaha really started solidifying their chances and really found that degree of separation from Greenville.
Hmm. Yeah, I think at least personal anecdote, I felt more as soon as Omaha scored the equalizer. I Any apprehension I had that Omaha wasn't going to win the game kind of subsided just with the amount of momentum that created and the amount of momentum Omaha carried into and out of the halftime whistle. I don't think I was alone in thinking that Omaha looked like the better side, and I didn't have any doubts that they were going to go on to win that match.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Union Omaha did win the match 2-1. Uh, So they moved on to the final. And then we had match number two, which kicked off at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. This was Ford Madison hosting Spokane. Uh, Man, so, before we go on to this one, so you had the upset for Spokane over Madison. I had the exacto for Union Omaha over Greenville, but your pick was way better than mine. I'm giving you like points for that one. Colin Spokane over um, Ford Madison is a hell of a pick. So congratulations, man.
Yeah, I mean there was something with this Spokane team. I mean, you go in and you beat Northern Colorado 3-0 at Northern Colorado. Just kind of a really quick flurry. I That gave me a lot of I don't even know the word I'm looking for. It made me believe in Spokane, and I would not have picked, a 0-0 draw and then move on to penalties. I thought for sure if it was going to end in a tie, it'd be decided in extra time. But that being said, it did go down to penalty kicks, and Spokane gets it done. So I mean, full credit to them, man. I know earlier in the season, I was giving them a lot of crap, especially when Omaha beat them, but um, full credit to them, man. This is the playoffs, and this is kind of what I will say the one of the only redeeming factors about playoffs being in soccer is you have the opportunity for these Cinderella teams to be able to make it to the final as the 7 seed coming off of 7 winless matches.
Yeah, very true. And um, before we get into some of the details of the action on the pitch, there was a big attendance there in Bree Stevens too, and it beat a record crowd too, because in Bree Stevens there was 4,495 fans, which just barely passed the attendance for the 2023 final, which had an attendance of 4,487. So 18 or no 8 more people than the 23 final. And with that attendance, this match alone was the third highest playoff match ever attended in League One history.
Yeah.
Um, the 2022 semifinal between Richmond and Chattanooga is the all-time leading with 5,526. And then the 2021 final between Omaha and Greenville had an attendance of 5,221. So it's good to see these big crowds attending these
Hmm.
playoff matches.
Yeah, and I mean, I won't go too far into it, but it looks like attendance is going to be really good for this final match on Sunday too. By the way, so maybe look and see. We'll come back to that and see where this one lands because attendance is looking really good. But also that being said, I don't think anybody's surprised that Madison fans showed up for this one. Um, Madison fans show up on a Wednesday night in the rain to play an under 8 squad. You know what I mean? Like uh, if there's a forward Madison match, those fans in the flock are going to be out there. So um,
Yeah,
full credit to them. Everybody knew it was going to happen, and they made it happen, and it was loud. That was a great atmosphere.
it really was. Yeah, it was fun to watch. Um, so this one went, not only did it go 90 minutes, it went 120 minutes without a single goal to break the deadlock. So we had to go to PKs. And this is where it got really exciting because when Ford Madison's Sharif J went up to take his penalty, Brooks Thompson blocked it. And if you remember a little bit of USL League One history, just last year in the final, the man who blocked Joel Johnson's penalty kick when Charlotte faced off against North Carolina was Brooks Thompson.
Hmm.
So if you are going to PKs, you want someone who can block some PKs. Spokane found their man.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, we talked about it, Rich. That I think I put one of my keys to that match was going to be how Brooks Thompson holds up against this vaunted Madison attack, and he answered the call. I mean, he played well all night. I think he commanded the box really well and wasn't afraid to go in and put his body on the line to get Spokane to a final. And I think that really has to be commended. I mean, he knows what it's like to play in the final, and I'm sure he's just as excited, if not more excited, than everybody else on the team to get it back into another one.
Yep. When the two clubs lined up for the opening kickoff, Spokane lined up in a 4-4-2. Little bit of a pivot there in the central mid. On the opposite end, Ford Madison lined up in their typical 3-4-3, and you kind of have to say 3-4-3 ish because of how fluid that formation is, as we've talked about on numerous occasions.
Right.
Um, but all in all, not too many great chances in this one. I would say Madison had more chances, and I would even go so far as to say they may have had the better chances. But all in all, it still wasn't one of those where there was a lot of, I don't know, highlight worthy moments when it came to circling back and watching those 90 or 120 minutes. There were a couple spots you could include in the highlight reel, but not too many.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this highlight tape would be rather short. I haven't looked to watch the actual highlights back, but I would assume most of it is probably the penalty shootout. Um, that tends to happen in penalty shootouts. You get the majority of your highlight reel is the penalties themselves. So um, I agree. I think there was maybe only one or two real good chances for Madison, and probably only maybe one really good chance for Spokane. So eh, it wasn't the most entertaining match if you're a fan of clinical forwards and stuff like that. But if you like good defensive play and kind of just dissecting the game a little bit more, I think this is definitely one that is worth a rewatch.
Yeah, if you are looking to look beyond the superficial, the surface level type stuff, and you want to get deeper into some of the tactics and all that kind of stuff, this was a really really fun one to watch because Ford Madison was trying to use their pitch to their advantage, spreading themselves out to the to the boundaries of the dimensions of their pitch, and in doing so, spreading Spokane out to try to mark up on their man. And when they did that, they opened up a lot of channels to play direct balls up to Derek Gebhardt. Now, they also tried to incorporate a lot of Stephen Payne as he was trying to do his overlaps around Devin Boyce and combine with Devin Boyce up there on the other side of the pitch. Um, but there was a fun battle where they were trying to spread out Spokane, but at the same time isolate Spokane's midfield because they had such great confidence in um, Jimmy Villalobos going against Spokane's midfield, and that was a fun dynamic to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that was something that they looked into and really wanted to do. I think the more you let a team like Spokane condense and be able to dictate, which is also kind of what we talked about. If Spokane could dictate the match that they want to play, they are going to have a better chance of winning that match. So I think Madison was really trying to eliminate that in this match. But unfortunately for Madison, I think they were also coming against a team that knew that they were going to try to change how they dictate the match and kind of just worked on letting it flow. Maybe playing a little bit more free because at this point they're playing with house money. They're the 7 seed going up against the 3 seed after beating the 2 seed. I mean, that doesn't happen that often. So I think they were the team that came out and played a little bit looser, and I think you could definitely tell in that second half that Spokane was kind of growing into themselves a little bit, because if you look in that second half XG, Spokane actually had better chances than Madison did. And I think watching it back, it kind of did feel that way. I never felt like either team really grabbed any momentum in this. I think that was the biggest issue for both of these teams. If somebody could have done one or two little things to grab that momentum, I think that team would have won this match.
Yeah,
But I mean, there's just not a whole lot that you can do without momentum on your side and without being able to dictate what you want to do, which I think both of these teams were unable to do because of the game plan of the other side. They
yeah,
both knew what each wanted to do and wasn't going to let the other one do that to them.
yeah. I agree with you when you were talking about the momentum. It was one of those where you watch that happen, you think, well, no one really had all the momentum or even most of the momentum, but if I had to, I would say them.
Hmm.
It was like, so close with the momentum. And but
Yeah.
just as we would suspect, Ford Madison was dominating possession. There was also the tendency for Luis Heel, even though he was playing more of an advanced role, there were a lot of times when he would sink back um, to fill back in and help on the defensive effort. So you saw him covering a lot of ground in that match. Um, but yeah, once again, just the tactics from both sides, it was a lot of fun to watch.
Hmm. Yeah. And I mean, then you move into extra time. A couple good chances in this one for each side. Um, but I mean, really, at the end of it was another one of those things where, like you said, Rich, I mean, the momentum just was there, but it teetered so close to half and half that when one team would grab a tiny bit of momentum, the other team would do just that little bit to wrangle it back to 50-50, and then it just went back and forth all night. So um, I think you could definitely tell in this first period that the teams wanted to get it done and over with, and to be able to sit back and maybe save a little bit for the final. But the first period of extra time, it didn't happen. And in the second period, you probably can just skip the entire second period of extra time. There was not a whole lot going on in that one. Um, I mean, it. I think both teams probably were feeling the pain of being out there. I'm sure they had headaches from that Madison crowd on both sides. So um, taking it into penalties where you're your shooting players have the advantage. I don't think either of these teams argued with going into penalties and taking that chance.
Yeah, I agree with you. That second period of extra time, it was like, all right, let's just they're phoning it in. Let's just go to PKs.
Yeah, I think I got up quite a bit more in that one, second half and was like, I don't need to watch this period of extra time. Let me know when the penalties come on.
Oh man. So yeah, Spokane did win in PKs 5-4 because of that Brooks Thompson save. I don't know if any of you were tuned into Instagram Live later on that evening, but Ryan and Katie Harnato were in Madison for the match. And while they took the team out to a bar in downtown Madison, they also had a live Instagram recording going. And they were going around saying hi to all the players, waving at the camera, and just having some drinks and having a good time. The celebrations were in full swing for Spokane, not only in Madison, but also back in Spokane. I can't remember the name of the bar where everyone was watching for the watch party. I want to say it was like Flatiron, but I know that's wrong. But anyways, place was at capacity. Like, I mean, the amount of people that were in there watching that match, those are the soccer watch parties that you want to go to
Yep.
because it's jam packed. Everyone is rooting for the same team. You're all eyes are glued to the same match at the same time, and oh man, just the energy that's in that room. People were recording that final kick, and just the eruptions of celebrations was just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about, right? It's it's great to see an expansion side come in like this and be able to bring that joy to that area. And I mean I know it's a super soccer heavy area as is, but it's different when it's your local side and you have so much so much care going into your local area and your community. And I think it is so much better when it is closer to home than some of those MLS sides or stuff like that. I mean, it's or overseas sides that watch parties are famous for here in the States, for having huge watch parties for Liverpool, Manchester, all of those teams. um I think it's really great to see that this started out so well for Spokane and is continuing so well for them.
Yeah, totally agree. Um, so with that said, you have Union Omaha moving on to the final. You have Spokane moving on to the final. Union Omaha is hosting Spokane in the final, and both teams are chasing history. So as we get into this one, Sunday, November 17th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Central Time, and then noon Pacific Time, you can tune in to watch this match on CBS Sports Golazo Network. If you are unfortunate enough to have to be able to listen to this one on the radio, like if you're at work or you're in the car, wherever you may be, tune in to Sirius XM FC. If you are listening to the match on XM radio, you can tune into channel 392. If you are using the online website or the Sirius XM app, uh, tune in to channel 982 to listen to the match.
Mhm.
So this is the number one seed Union Omaha hosting the number seven seed Spokane Velocity. And as we just said, there's history on the line here. For Union Omaha, they are on the precipice of becoming the first team to ever win a second um, league final, which would allow them to wear a second star above their crest.
And a gold one, not a green one.
And yes, not a green one.
You're
Yep,
saying
true.
we will touch on all of the other news after the final. We wanted to keep this one final focused and celebrate these two teams making it to the final.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that. And then on the other end, you have Spokane, who is very close to becoming the first team to win the final in their inaugural season. Now, as much as history is on the line here, we also have history that has been made because um, Warner Park becomes the first stadium in the league to host uh, more than one league final in league history. And then Spokane is the first team to beat uh, multiple higher seed uh, opponents in the playoffs. Now they also did something else that was pretty special too because uh, they also scored two or they earned two clean sheets along the way with a 3-0 victory over Northern Colorado, and then obviously we just talked about the victory over Madison. By having those two clean sheets, they become the third team to ever do this. Actually, yeah, third team to ever do this in league history. For a team in postseason to have two clean sheets in the same postseason. First time it happened was in 2019 with North Texas. Then it happened again in 2022 with Chattanooga. So a little bit of league history and trivia there for you.
Very good one.
But
That's good company to
as
be
we,
in.
yeah, good company. As we break this one down even further, let's look at the season series between these two because it gets interesting here. Before they kicked off a single regular season match, they faced each other twice in the Jägermeister Cup. And here's where it gets even more fun. If you include the regular season matches, the home team won every single one of these matches. So in round 2 of the Jägermeister Cup, Spokane beat Union Omaha 3-2. In Jägermeister Cup round 4, Union Omaha beat Spokane 4-1. Then you get into the regular season, and we had to wait from what was that, May or June all the way to September before these teams would face off against each other once again. In week 19 of the regular season, Spokane beat Union Omaha at home 2-1. Then Union Omaha returned the favor in week 22 with a 4-0 victory. Yeah. So a little bit of history between these two. They split down the middle. And in every single match in which Spokane scored a goal or more, if they scored at least a goal in the match, Luis Gil scored one of those goals. Now, they were held scoreless in that Week 22 match in the regular season. So obviously, Luis Gil wasn't able to score in every single meeting between the two teams. But scoring in 3 of the 4 meetings, man, not a fun reunion to have for the Union Omaha squad, seeing their former teammate go up against them.
Yeah, dude loves playing against Omaha. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And then when you start looking at the formation for this match, I think it's fair to assume that Spokane is going to come out in that 4-4-2. We could see a little bit of pivot action with their central midfielders. We could also see them float back into a 4-5-1 with Luis Gil coming back to help out in the midfield. So there's a little bit of there's a little bit of flow to their formation, but not nearly as drastic as what you would expect from like Ford Madison or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to throw this one at you because when it comes to Union Omaha, there's been some fluctuation in the starting formation as well as what they go to, what they transition to as they continue the match.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to what they will line up on paper, what do you think? And then what do you think they're going to transition into or anything like that?
I mean, I'm trying to think of what Omaha ended up playing in their last regular season meeting. If I remember right, they were playing like a 3-4-3. I'd expect Omaha to sit back a couple more guys than maybe one more guy than 3. I think they'd come out with a 4 back set. I I mean, there's so many different. Omaha is weird because they can be multiple, but they don't always conform to that shape for the entire match. It's not free flowing like Madison's is, where they'll change 3 or 4 times in a half, but they'll play the first half. Excuse me, the first half of the half. So I guess the first quarter of the match in a certain formation, and if they're not getting the looks that they want, they will just change the formation and it stays in that formation. It's not nearly as fluid and free changing. So I would expect them to come out with, I'm going to say, a 3-4-3, but I would not be surprised to see them go to like a 4-4-2. It just depends on the personnel too. We still don't know if Steven Dos Santos is healthy. We still don't know if Dion Akoff is healthy. We still don't, you know what I mean? We have no way of knowing for sure what this lineup is going to be for Omaha. I think Spokane is more of a what you see is what you get. We're going to roll with the guys that have proven they can beat higher seeds with the formation that has proven it can beat higher seeds. I think Omaha, it's entirely dependent on the lineup. I think we know the main few guys that are going to be on the pitch for sure in their positions, but some of those higher skill ceiling guys that have been out of the lineup for the playoffs, do they make an appearance on the starting lineup, or are they saved for substitutions if they see playing time at all? Excuse me, at all.
I think my prediction is they're going to go into a 4-2-3-1. I agree with you. They're going to go in a four-back set. The reason I think they're going to go into a 4-2-3-1 is because I think Ford Madison had a good blueprint against Spokane, where they were trying to spread the field and then try to access some of those channels that were left open and try to play a little bit more directly. I think Omaha likes to play a little bit of that direct ball, some of those over the top balls, um, to really put pressure on the other end. But a big factor in my prediction for the formation here is the size of Warner Park's pitch. Because I don't think that Union Omaha's home pitch allows them to want to try to spread the ball out. I think they could do that if they were on a different pitch.
Mhm.
But being in Warner Park, they have to play their branded style inside Warner Park, and I
Mhm.
think that's going to be straight and narrow. Build a strong spine down the middle lane of the pitch. Try to build up of it up through it. Try to cancel out the other team, much like they did against Greenville. Um, and if you can take Luis Heel out of the match, you have a very strong chance of succeeding against um, Spokane.
Yeah, I completely agree. That is kind of the linchpin thing for me. Is Luis Heel is, in my opinion, their most dangerous player. I say their, it's Spokane's. Sorry, I'm needing to be a little bit more impartial than I am, but Spokane's best player, in my opinion, is Luis Heel, and I think I can back that up by saying if you look at Spokane's run of form from when Luis Heel was fully healthy to when Luis Heel was injured, they're two completely different teams. Spokane looks significantly better with Luis Heel in the lineup. And I think they really are going to have to play through him and allow him to showcase his passing ability. I don't think we see Luis Heel score in this one, but I think his passing is going to be huge for Spokane. If they want to come in and beat Omaha on the smaller pitch, the smallest allowed um, pitch size that you have, they're going to have to move the ball through the middle. Even though Omaha is going to try to stop it, they're still going to have to just muscle their way through. And I think a guy like Luis Heel, who sees the field so well and can pick out runners that haven't even began to start their run yet, he automatically knows where they're going to be. I think that is going to be the biggest the biggest thing. I don't think there's anything that I don't think Omaha's going to throw something crazy. I think Omaha's going to come out. They're going to they're going to try to work the ball in the center of the pitch, and then at the very last chance swing it out wide and then send balls in. Use the size that they have against Spokane and try to win some headers in the box. What I think Spokane is going to do is work through that midfield and find the runners. And I think they have a chance to do it because I think one thing Greenville did really well against Union Omaha, and I mean, you saw it with their goal, their runners coming in behind because of the defense and the high press that Union Omaha plays, it's easy to lose track of the runners on the edges. And especially when arguably one of the best defenders and quickest guys in League One in Dion Akoff may or may not be playing, I think they're going to look to take advantage of that. So that's a really long-winded way of saying I think Luis Heel is the biggest X factor in this match.
Yeah, and one of the biggest factors that Spokane has to counter on Union Omaha if they were to go into a 4-2-3-1. Um, because one of the benefits of having a 4-2-3-1, not only do you have that central stability, but if the ball is on one side of the pitch, it's a lot easier to mobilize players to that side of the pitch and create numbers up. But for Spokane, they have shown such an ability to quickly gain possession of the ball and move on the counterattack. When they throw, what's his name? Well, so you have like Jack Denton, Andre Lewis, Luis Heel, like those players all sort of forming that good trio there,
Hmm.
linking up. When you have those guys able to move so once they win possession, they're able to find the outlet and get the ball up the pitch super fast, and that creates a lot of the counterattack pressure from Spokane. That's going to be dangerous to watch, and those three players are going to be huge to watch. Now you also have to watch out for Pelaez. You have to watch out for Akale. I don't think that Masango Akale is going to start. He could very well. Obviously, I don't have access to the 18-man roster, or I'm not sitting in the film room or anything. But when he lines up behind Pelaez, he likes to do a lot of those overlaps. But if he gets the ball early, he also has a tendency to cut inward a lot sooner. He's not going to dribble to the corner and try to cross it in. He's going to go after players. He's a lot like his older brother Makwele Akale. So he's going to go after guys, and so this all creates a lot of those offensive opportunities. Once they win the ball, they're so fast at moving the ball the other direction, and it's like whiplash for their opponent because they're just like, "Holy crap! We just had the ball on their half the field. Now it's in our half. What's going on?"
Hmm.
So I think the four back system is also going to be more stable for Union Omaha, especially having those two CDMs back there to sort of counter any of the counterattacks that Spokane may have.
Yeah, and I mean, we know both of these teams are gonna hard press high up the pitch. I mean, we just that's how they've played each other all season long. Um, that's how both of these teams have played all season long. I think what's going to be really interesting is to see which team kind of blinks first and maybe starts thinking about later in the match when they're going to start dropping that press off a little bit, or are these guys going to be so wound up on adrenaline that it ain't going to matter? I mean, to to quote the announcers in The Waterboy, last game of the year, you can't hold anything back. I think that's going to be a big part of this. And Spokane is used to playing in front of big crowds. Um, Omaha is as well, but I think both of these teams aren't really going to be ready for the amount of fans that we could potentially see on Sunday. I think that's also going to be a huge X factor in who's going to win this match. Um, I'm biased, obviously. I think Union Omaha has some of the loudest fans in the league, just based on rewatches of Omaha matches. After being there and watching the rest of the league, I think Omaha, what they lack in numbers wise, I think their fans, and by virtue of being in a baseball stadium, are very close to the pitch and are very vocal. So that's going to be one thing that can work for or against both teams. Um, I think Spokane's going to be coming in with this, especially from the last time they played here and getting beat 4-0. Um, they're going to be coming in expecting a raucous crowd, and I think they're going to feed off of that and want to shut the Omaha fans up pretty quickly. Um, and that also, I think Union Omaha, I mean, players have said as much. Earlier today, even Lagos Kunga, giving out a thing to the fans saying that they need to be there and they need to be loud because the team feeds off of it. So um, I think out of all the teams that could be matched up against Omaha in Omaha, I think Spokane is the team that is more suited to be able to deal with that noise and that atmosphere. So um, usually you have to give like a half a goal advantage to the home team, but I I don't know that you can give a half a goal advantage against a team in a final. I mean, both of these teams are going to be playing as hard as they can play, and it's going to be a great one. I mean, there's so many different battles that are happening on the field that really need, that need to have people looking at them the entire time. I don't think there's going to be one position on this field that you can take your eyes off of, which is going to be hard for for anybody watching. Um, I think you can look at every single position and find a battle that's going to be hard fought.
Yeah. And I think that's a great segue into another topic that we have slated for tonight, and that is key matchups for Sunday's final. The first one that I have listed is Jack Denton and Andre Lewis versus Pedro Dolabella and Max Schneider. Those central midfielders going at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, man, that's going to be just a killer matchup
Mm-hmm.
to watch. Some feisty battles, and Spokane won the majority of their duels when they went up against Madison. So that's what's going to be truly interesting about this one because uh, Pedro and Max like to control things,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a good give and go system there in the midfield. But those the Spokane's midfield is also very high quality.
Yeah. Um, I mean this. I mean, if we had to look at this and you had to pick one of these two to kind of take in this midfield, I think this is the one that is kind of the biggest like toss up on this entire list. Looking at it from my point of view, I think it's going to be very hard to not give the nod to Union Omaha in this one. Um, I think I think you have a potential MVP candidate with Pedro Dolabella um, in this one, and Max Schneider obviously coming back from a loan has helped them out quite a bit as well. I mean, it's so minuscule of an advantage. You don't even really want to call it an advantage. And I think that goes for almost every single, if not every single position on the field. Um, but I think the consistency thing across an entire season really leans in Union Omaha's favor. Yes, Spokane is very like red hot right now, but they haven't been all season. And I really feel like with Omaha's body of work, they are just the more reliable pick. So I won't necessarily say better or that I favor one too much over the other, but I I would rather have a consistent side.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I think between those two pairings, I would go with um, Pedro and Max as well. But that's not to say that Jack and Andre are lacking at all. You know,
No,
they're still a great central. They're still a great pair.
this team made the finals and beat two higher seeded teams. Like I said, there's not really a matchup on this field that is one sided.
Yeah. Another matchup that I have included in this list is if he plays, which it sounds like it's a possibility, but we don't know for sure. Steven Dos Santos against Marcelo Lage.
Yeah. This one, I think you have to give the nod to Lage in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, Steven Dos Santos, even if he plays, hasn't played for 4, 5 weeks, something like that now. You have to wonder if fitness is going to be a thing. Does he come in as a super sub at some point, or does he start the match? And how long can he go if he plays? That's going to be another big factor in this one. But I mean, I will take a guy that's again consistency scale has been playing. I think you have to go with the guy that's been playing over a guy that's coming off of injury.
Yeah. Two very tall guys going after each other. And that's what's going to be so fun to see those aerial duels. Uh, that's the entertaining part for me. Seeing just the potential of those two going up against each other.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Okay, so after that one, this one is a lot more straightforward. Luis Heel versus Rashid Nuhu.
Yeah. I mean, oh, you've got Luis Heel, a guy that played in Omaha, um, against Rashid Nuhu. Call him Mr. Omaha. He's been here the entire time. I think it's so hard to get bet against Rashid Nuhu in this one. I mean, Luis is Luis can score goals. Luis can facilitate goals. Luis is an amazing player, but Rashid Nuhu is also an amazing keeper. Um, and in this one, I guess it's a little unfair that Rashid Nuhu is going to get the nod, but not just because Rashid Nuhu is who he is. I think Omaha's defense works with Rashid's leadership on the field, and he is a such a field general that he gets his guys where they need to be before they need to be there. So, um, and again, that's not taking anything away from Luis Heel. I think he's going to have his share of chances to score or facilitate a goal. Um, but I just like the leadership quality of Rashid Nuhu in this matchup a little bit over the just pure quality of Luis Heel.
So I don't want to give too much away by asking this question because we're coming up on some of those questions that are geared toward um, which way you're thinking for your prediction.
Hmm.
Uh, First off, does Luis Hill score Sunday?
I don't think he scores himself. No.
Okay, all right, that's a good place to start. I'm not going to press you much harder than that. All right, so another matchup that I have in here is this one is another one that I'm really excited about. Anwar Pelaez versus Luca Mastrantonio and Marco Milanese.
Uh, I feel this one is so tough. Man, I have to give the nod to Luca and Marco in this one. I just think I think those two guys are a defensive unit, and it when they're both clicking, I think it's really hard to attack that side of the field.
They work really well in tandem together. They have that obvious chemistry on the field, but an even deeper chemistry off the field with all the soccer academy video production stuff that they do, and obviously both being Italians,
That
they're very
helps, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it helps a lot. So they have a very good chemistry, and Pelaez is definitely going to give them fits on Sunday.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, that's definitely not saying he won't, because
yeah,
I think this game will have huge momentum swings. I don't think it's going to be another Madison Spokane match. I think both of these teams are going to come out and look to grab momentum quickly, and I think it's going to shift back and forth.
yeah. All right. Now we can get into. So we don't have a whole lot of time left, but we do have some time to work with. So we kind of hit on some of the stuff that we were just talking about with the matchups, like where the advantages are going to be on both sides. So I'm going to jump past that section. I'm going to go into the questions here.
Mhm.
Who do you think has the advantage as the match extends closer to 90 minutes?
Uh, I feel like this one's kind of hard to argue. Um, I think Omaha has the deepest bench in the league, and I mean, when you get later into the match, if you have available subs or you go into extra time, I think Omaha's depth really propels them. If the match goes later, I think it goes in Omaha's favor.
If Steven Dos Santos starts,
Mhm.
somebody has to come off the pitch. So looking at the team that just started against Greenville last weekend, who are you pulling off the pitch so that you can make that 3-4-3 formation that you were talking about um, to functionally attack against Spokane?
Ooh, I think you have. I don't think. I don't think you start Steven Dos Santos in this match, even if he's healthy, ready to go. I think
Okay.
you roll with what has been working. Um, I mean, this also it also depends on Dion Akoff if he's going to play or not. He's one of those guys that also your formation is going to shift so much because Akoff could theoretically start on the front line and just play and drop back between all three all three levels. Um, so with that being said, I think you really would be hard pressed to take out either Lagos Kunga or Zico Lewis for this one. And what from what it looks like, from what it looks and sounds like, Zico Lewis is still here. I know he got called up for the national team, but it seems like he's still in town, and the federation is allowing him to stay for the final before being called up. So if that's true, that's huge for Union Omaha. That is two hot hands. I think you go with the guys that have the hot hands. I mean, you don't pull out a shooter when he's on a hot streak.
I'm glad you bring up the fact that Zico Lewis has uh, that call up, um, you know, inactive status at the moment because I didn't include that in the outline, but it's certainly worth discussing as you just did, um, because we didn't even know if he was going to be playing on Sunday. But as you said, it sounds like the Bermuda Federation is allowing him to play on Sunday, which is awfully nice of them, considering um, I heard earlier today that they have a match on Tuesday, so that's a quick turnaround.
That would be a quick turnaround. I wonder how much
Wednesday,
time he would get,
yeah,
but it may be a thing where the federation says, "Yeah, we'll let him stay. He can only go X amount of minutes."
yeah, yeah,
But also
and
at
to
the same time too, it's the last match of the season. If you go over, what are they really gonna do? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
One of those things.
yeah. To go back to the question about the formation, since I was predicting a 4-2-3-1, um, and knowing how well Spokane does at dragging their opponent down, and really like frustrating them, I was going to start in the 4-2-3-1, throw Steven Dos Santos up in that top position, let him play the number 9, and then I was going to take Lagos off, bring him on in the second half, fresh legs, fresh energy, fresh creativity,
Yep.
to try to counter what Spokane was doing.
Yeah. I you know what, Rich, I could completely see that as well. I think as much as I've been on the Lagos Kunga bandwagon since early this season, I really think I really think he is one of those guys that I won't say he's better suited as a sub, but he definitely is the biggest impact sub that Union Omaha has.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So first off, do you think this is going to be a I don't want to say low scoring. Do you think it's going to be the goal differential is going to be low?
The differential, yes.
Okay. So with that said, um, who do you give the advantage to in goal different, like a close goal differential match? I have some stats here for you. You can read through those.
Yeah,
And
I'm kind of going through those. Um
now you also have to take this with a grain of salt because
yeah,
this is the Spokane team from the regular season, but not the Spokane team from the postseason.
right. Um and honestly, even so, that they're not that far off either.
Yeah.
These two teams are when it's decided by one goal. Omaha's 7-3, Spokane is 6-4. Um, all time, Omaha's 3-2 at home. Spokane is 1-3 away. Oh, and something we didn't talk about earlier is I really like Brooks Thompson as a keeper. I like that pickup, mind blowingly good. Um, I I anticipate Brooks Thompson being very busy on Sunday, but I think if you're a Spokane fan, you're okay with that. If Brooks Thompson is busy, you have the confidence that he can come through if he's busy. Um, but flip it around, Omaha has Rashid Nuhu, a guy that's been here that has a ton of clean sheets that can also do the same things. Just hasn't been as flashy, I guess is the word I'll use, not necessarily the word I'm happy with, but um, he hasn't had the big time crazy saves like Brooks Thompson has in these playoffs. Um, so it's really tough to try to choose one of these two teams, but in a low scoring game, I think I have to go with the depth of Union Omaha and say that they have the advantage. Because if it's a one score game, that game's coming down to the wire. I think Omaha's bench will be a big decider in that one.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you mentioned Brooks Thompson because this doesn't get mentioned or discussed enough when it comes to Spokane. Peter Swinkles, who started the season with Spokane, retired halfway through the season.
Yep.
Spokane had to go out there and find another quality goalkeeper to bring in. And they just so happened to bring in Brooks Thompson. Like,
Yeah.
crazy good job from Spokane to not only find him, but to talk him, like to persuade him, to recruit him to come out to Spokane for the rest of the season. Now, it's a lot easier when you're saying, hey, it's midway through the season. We're going to give you the starting job right off the bat. But still, to bring in a proven goalkeeper like Brooks, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, the dude's a stud and he deserves all the praise because uh, this last match, I don't think Spokane gets through with somebody else in goal. I think I think Brooks is his command of the box is phenomenal. That dude is not afraid to mix it up and put his body on the line to get saves, and I think that really shows.
Well, we are coming right up on that time. Let's go ahead and do it. get into predictions. You want to go first? Do you want me to?
I'll let you go first. I hogged
Ooh,
that for most of the season, so
okay. So this is really tough. I even as we're sitting here, I still have no idea what I'm predicting for a scoreline. Um, I do think that Union Omaha is going to win, but as far as a scoreline, the biggest thing for me is whether Spokane's going to score because to finish out the regular season, it was a nil-nil draw against One Knox. They scored three against NoCo, but then they didn't score any against Ford Madison in regulation time. So, and if you even go back further into the regular season, yes, we're going into the regular season, which should be a no-no when we're talking about Spokane in the postseason. Um, but even if you extend back into some of the matches leading up to the end of the season, Spokane wasn't scoring a whole lot. And if you look at the Union Omaha team they're going to be facing on Sunday, I don't know if they're going to be scoring. And if so, if they're going to be able to keep up with Union Omaha scoring. So I'm going to go a Union Omaha victory, and I will say, man, I think it's going to be close. I'm going to go Union Omaha 1-0.
nil. Yeah, I mean, so you have a
But
team. Oh, go ahead.
it's so tough even saying that because if you look at the previous matchups, when Union Omaha was at home, a 4-0 victory, and before that, when they hosted them, it was a 4-1 victory. And I'm
Hmm.
sitting here only saying 1-0. Like I don't know, but
Yeah.
then I keep thinking to myself, well, that was the regular season Spokane. This is the postseason Spokane. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna stick with the 1-0 victory for Union Omaha.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, you have the Cinderella team this year. 7 seed. There was not a single person in week one. Well, there was not a single. I don't think there was a single League One content creator that was picking Spokane in week one. I certainly wasn't. Um, and I think they came in and they kind of proved that yeah, we belong here. This is something we've done. There's been flashes of it all season. Yeah, the last 7 matches didn't go our way, but we're gonna come in. We're gonna play, and we'll see where it goes. It's gonna be really hard to bet against a team that coming in as the 7 seed, playing against a team that's expected to be in the final this season. Um, I know in our preseason show, I picked Union Omaha to win it. Um, and I think Spokane's going to come in and they're going to play their traditional game but with a little bit extra. I think they're going to throw some wrinkles in that Union Omaha is going to have to adapt to really quickly. Um, for Union Omaha, I think they have the 2-time coach of the year now. Um, and he's proven that he excels at changing the formation or changing the situation based on the team that they're playing. So when Spokane does inevitably do that, I think Omaha has the right guy in charge to make sure that that gets changed in their favor. Um, I think Spokane has had an incredible postseason run so far. I think Union Omaha has done what it was expected to do. And this one, I think it's going to be close for the majority of the game. I think Spokane's going to come in, they're going to throw everything at Omaha, and Omaha is at one point going to get hit, and they're going to have to pick themselves up again, like they did against Greenville. Um, that being said, this Omaha team does that. That kind of is what they do. Um, that and the fact that Omaha has better depth. I think Omaha's attacking players are better. Um, I think Spokane gets a quick one. Maybe not in the first 10 minutes, but I think they get one inside the first 20. make things a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe try to silence the crowd in Omaha a little bit. Um, but I think just the talent and the depth of Union Omaha prevail in this one. I think it goes a little bit later, but I do like Union Omaha in this one as well. Um, but I think they get it done 3-1.
3-1. All right. Very cool. Man. All right. I like it. And look at that. We are in 89th minute as we speak, too, man. Time that perfectly.
It's pretty good. This is about the time Omaha get their third.
And let's see. I don't see any questions in the live chat. Let me check Twitter. I don't see anything there either. So, yeah, you got anything else you want to talk about?
Um, nothing in particular. It sucks, man. The season's almost over.
Yeah.
It feels like it just started. Um, I know the weather is like here anyway. It's it's not as bad as it could be. I think today it hit like 66 degrees outside. It was only
Yeah, it was
supposed to be like 62. So, um, yeah, definitely took off the sweatshirt and the Carhartt and everything at work today. It was nice. But it just sucks that the season's almost over. We've got one match left on Sunday, and then it's to the off season. But then again, man, off season's like 3-4 months tops, and
yeah.
it's not like there ain't gonna be any news because I mean the show after the finals, next week's show, we got the final recap. We've got clubs to talk about. We've got a ton of
Mhm.
other stuff, and I mean it's gonna start right away. We're gonna switch into off season mode, and there'll be a lot more speculation. Everybody that is looking for our pro rail talk, you'll get that, I'm sure, in the off season again. Um, yeah, it sucks that it's coming to an end, but at the same time, this is the culmination of an entire season's worth of work. And I think no matter who wins this match, I think it's going to be entertaining. And the fact that history's made one way or another, I mean, history's already been made, and now there's just another piece that could be added to it for either side. I mean, what better of an ending can you really ask for?
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. Very well said. I can't even add to that. It was so
Somet
good.
Sometimes, man. Sometimes.
Bringing tears, guys. I need to find some tissues. Well, if nobody has any questions in the live chat or on social media, we are going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of League One on the Rocks. If you are at Warner Park tomorrow, make sure to find us at the tailgates. We'll be more than happy to hang out and chat. Well, I mean, we're always going to be happy to
Yeah. Oh yeah,
you know,
anytime.
hear all that fun
Um
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, so if you are going to be in Omaha tomorrow, glad you brought that up, Rich. If you don't know where I'm tailgating at, look for this. Our banner will be out there. I will be hanging out by the banner. I think Rich is going to come over and hang out for a little bit as well, at least. So, um, if you see it, just come stop on by, say hi. We'll chat the final. You can tell me I'm stupid in my Sunday. That's right. Uh, so used to Saturdays. On Sunday, look for it. Come and chat. Tell me I'm dumb. Whatever you want to do. It'll be a good time either way. Looking forward to seeing everybody out there.
Yeah. Yep. It's going to be a great, great weekend of League One action. We're going to bring you all more of that discussion next week, and just keep that ball rolling. I mean, once we get into the off season, it it never ends because there's so much stuff to talk about in the off season too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey,
pretty
and
exciting.
if you're gonna get tired of just postseason talk, you only gotta wait until like February for preseason stuff to come out. They're gonna start playing matches in February again, so
Yep.
short turnaround time.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of League One on the Rocks. My name is Rich. You can find me on Twitter at I'm Rich, but I'm not. That is Brian. You can find him on Twitter at Mediocre Ace. And we will see you Sunday.
Thanks, guys.